Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Hello, buddy.
It's so good to see you, as always. And
Likewise.
tuning in, watching, listening, etc., etc. Thank you all for being here. Drew, have you got a drink?
Oh, there we go.
Lovely. Cheers.
Mugged
Cheers,
up.
everyone at home or
Cheers,
on
everyone.
work or wherever you are. Now then. Oh, don't say that. Jesus, Sam. No, I'm going to come up with a different catchphrase that doesn't relate to someone that we do not talk about. Now then, Drew.
Yes.
Completely thrown myself. Have we got anything to report on this week? Because we've actually got quite a lot to go into that isn't industry news or things like that. So I'm handed straight over to you to get the
Well, there's not a lot. I've scoured the news. There's nothing, no catch-ups to report. I mean, there's obviously things, but nothing major, because I think we've got a major episode coming up. But there are three farewells, if I can put it like that, that very, very recently. One of my very, very favourite actors and a familiar long-term face for people is the lovely Ian Lavender, who was Don't Tell Him Pike. We all know and love from Dad's Army, and lots of other stuff as well. He's just, I mean, he's one of those, we've spoken about it in the past, he's one of those national treasures. It's
absolutely. And the last one remaining from the original Dad's Army crew.
That's right. Yeah.
So that is it. We no longer have any of the Dad's Army greats with us. But yeah, just possibly one of, along with the things like the Fools and Horses falling through the bar and the German walk, the goose stepping in Fawlty Towers. I think Don't Tell Him Pike is right up there with one of the most admired, most enjoyed, most remembered, most significant moments in British sitcom history.
I was in a certain coffee shop a few years back, and they ask your name and write it on your coffee cup. And a guy said to me, the guy was in the queue, and he said to and what's your name, sir? And from the back of the room, a very long queue early in the morning, someone went, "Don't tell him, Pike." It floored everyone, and it was, as you say, there are very few things that are iconic, but as you say, one of those iconic TV moments. Brilliant.
So sad loss there.
Genuinely lovely man. Now, someone else who became iconic is Carl Weathers, who's passed away.
Apollo Creed himself.
I mean, exactly. I mean, if you think he was so beloved in that role that Sylvester Stallone said, "We can't lose this. We got to carry on this story," and it went on that storyline. And the friendship between those two characters, it was beautiful. It's brilliant. Lovely actor.
There were beautiful tributes from both, as you mentioned, Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, because, yes, Carl Weathers did enormous amounts of movies and was a stunning actor, but probably the two roles or the two films most memorable were being in Rocky as Apollo Creed and being in what's he got? Oh, Predator. I couldn't get the word out. Predator alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger. And actually a random one here. He was also I believe in Happy Gilmore. Did he not play the golf the golf pro or the with only one hand that was eaten by a crocodile or something? I'm pretty sure that was him as well. But yeah, another stunning actor taken too soon. Brilliant career, brilliant man. So.
Yeah, and someone who flies a lot below the radar. I mean, I take note of good one of the character actors. I love character actors, and that and a lovely man called Michael Jaston, who's passed away. And now people, if you think, I don't know Michael Jaston, but you show people, oh gosh, yeah, he was in. Everyone remembers them, and he played Raquel's dad in Only Fools and Horses.
Oh, in Fools and Horses, yes.
Yeah. But he was also in another show with David Jason a bit of a do.
Oh,
Yeah, David Nobbs wrote the series and wrote the books, and he play his wife and David Jason have an affair, and he's very posh and she's very posh, and David Jason is the salt of the earth, and it was one of those series that kind of it was Marmite, you either got it or you didn't, and I liked it, but he was incredibly clever and incredibly talented. Yeah, just one of those actors who's been around, done everything, and just someone once described an actor as the engine room. A sort of actor who's the engine. He's just quietly holding everything together, and that's kind of what Michael Jason did. He was an incredible actor. Three incredible actors, in fact.
Yeah, so, and it's funny we said about sort of iconic moments in British sitcoms. I mean, surely the scene he's in where they're sat around the dinner table in Fools and Horses, where Albert confuses gravy and coffee. That's got to be up there with one of the
exactly
as well. So and he was part of that. So, but yes, we shall raise a glass, or in your case, a mug, to three unbelievable actors taken too soon.
Absolutely.
Condolences to their families, but we will remember them for the amazing things they did. So
fondly and wonderfully. Yeah.
Indeed. So that's it news-wise, is it? For now?
Kind of what wraps it up news-wise, but I think we'll keep it short and brief because we got a good one, haven't we?
We have, and this is and I will sort of preempt this by saying it's an idea that I mentioned to you and you thought was excellent and we've gone with, but I did steal it. So I listen to a lot of different podcasts, including our own, because I can't get enough of my own voice, obviously, as I'm sure people will be aware.
Yes.
In particular, I love listening to Off Menu with James Acaster and Ed Gamble, all about famous people's like all-time favourite meals or dream meals. And they do this thing. I think they do it every 100 episodes, so we're not on a milestone at the moment, but we thought we'd bring this in now, where they sort of flip things round, and rather than them interviewing someone or asking questions to someone, they bring someone in to ask them. So they flipped it on its head, and we thought, why don't we do something similar? So thanks to Ed and James, we've sort of stolen your idea. If you don't mind, if you do want to come on, let us know. But in the meantime, we reached out to all our incredible guests that we've had over the past couple of years and said, look, we're doing this thing where we turn it around and the guests ask us questions. Would you like to be involved? And let's be honest, we thought we'd have maybe one or two responses and people would be like, no, bollocks, we've given you enough time. Get on with
it. Get out of it.
We were, and I feel like I'm on like TV or kids' TV. We've been inundated.
We have been inundated. It's been brilliant.
So many great responses. So enormous thank you to every single person that responded to us, all our previous, I mean, enormous thank you to all our previous guests anyway, but to those of you that were able to get hold of and sent us stuff in, thank you so much. You are the stars of this show. I mean, the guests are always the stars of this show, but in particular, in this episode, they are the stars because we're going to go ahead and answer basically as many of their questions as we can, Drew. I think there's
been some really good ones. I mean, it's been a bit. We got them and playing them back, and it's like, yeah, I've had to think about some of those. There's some great stuff. Yeah,
exactly that. So should we dive straight in and see who?
Let's go for it, my friend. Let's go for it.
Now, by the magic of I was going to say magic of TV. It's not magic of podcasting. Hopefully, now everyone will be able to hear, or if you're on YouTube, see our first guest.
Hi guys, Terry Gouchy here. Now listen, you're always asking questions. I think it's about time you answered some questions because we're all interested to know about you two. So I've got 3 questions for you, if you don't mind. Bit cheeky, I know. But anyway, and by the way, I'm not broadcasting live from an old people's home. I'm actually here at Nid Hall in North Yorkshire. They're not Scousers, they're Yorkshire people. But anyway, never mind. Here's question 1. Question 1, what ratio of our industry would you say is luck and talent? For me personally, I think it's about 90% luck and 10% talent, although you create your own luck. That's my opinion. What's yours? Question 2, if you could play any Hollywood part, any Hollywood part, what would it be? And why, obviously. Explain your reasons. And third and final question, really random, shower or bath? I know that's really random and it's very personal, but I prefer a shower. Thanks, guys. Brilliant job.
Well, there we go. I mean, the amazing Mr. Terry Gouchy there, who came on an episode with us good few months ago. Him and his partner in crime, Terry Burns, at the same time, didn't they?
They did.
And obviously not sticking to the rules straight away. 3 questions there. Why don't we'll come back to question 2 that he asked about the Hollywood role, for reasons we'll reveal in a second. But
yeah.
I think we can go ahead and answer the first one and the third question there, Drew. Do you want to lead things off? What do you reckon?
I tend to agree with Terry. I mean, it's a tough business, and I mean, and there are lots and lots of very talented people about, and present company, included. But I think there's an awful lot of luck. There's a lot of being in the right place at the right time. Being on top of your games, you can go to an audition or you can be working, and if you're not on, if you've got to. I mean, that's some of that is technique, but also you've got to be lucky enough to be fit, healthy, keep going. But you do need the breaks, and it doesn't matter how talented you are, and I think almost every performer will say, yeah, it's luck. You've got to have a lot of luck. So I would agree with Terry. I reckon it's about 90%.
Do you know what? I'd possibly push it further and go 99.1. Because the phrase, obviously, it's not what you know, it's who you know, but it absolutely is. If you're in the right place at the right time, know the right people, someone mentions the right thing, you see if you're quick enough to get in there before someone else, or if you do something, there are so many things that are sort of outside of just being a great singer, a great actor, a great dancer, that I think it comes down to that. And you only have to hear from some of the most successful people ever in the industry who will probably go to say the same thing. So yeah, I would say it's definitely going that way, but probably nearly all the way. So I'll be conservative. I'll say 95.5. 95% luck, 5% talent. But and then I can definitely answer Terry's third question. I am a bath connoisseur. I don't mind sitting and, as people put it to me before, stewing in my own filth. That's great for me. Make sure the bath is steaming hot so you can barely get in. Whack a film on a laptop or a tablet or something. Have a bite to eat in there. Stay in there for a couple of hours. Fine by me. You're going to say the opposite.
I'm a shower man every time. Yeah, I mean, I do enjoy getting clean, but it's not something I want to dwell on. So yeah, in the shower. I agree with you. Nice and hot. Let it rain down. Let it wash away. Get out. And then, most importantly, good soft towel. That's it. Good.
Right. Okay. But that is not that is not synonymous just with shower or bath. This is very true. Much universal. So, I mean, you can have a nice soft towel when you're not having a shower or a bath.
This is very true, Sam. Yeah, this is obviously.
I'm not sure this is where I thought we'd end up when we were.
Me either, but no, shower.
Okay, so there we go. Thank you, Mr. Terry Gouchy. We will come back to your second question a bit later on. Now, and we have to highlight the fact, obviously, that straight away, first person in, and he's ignored the rules, really, hasn't he? So we said, would you mind sending us a question? And in true performer or entertainer style, he's gone a bit over the top. And
not the only one, though, is he? Let's face it.
Should we not the only one? Here we go.
Who else?
Okay, a couple of other questions as well.
I'm being a little bit greedy, but I'd like to have a second question as well.
I've got 3 questions for you, 3 podcast-related questions.
So, yeah, and they weren't the only ones. But what's interesting is all 3 people we just saw there, who will introduce themselves shortly if you didn't recognise their voices, or if you're on YouTube, didn't recognise their faces, they all actually managed to ask one question that was pretty much identical. So shall we check that out now?
Check it out.
Hi lads, it's Richard Stride here.
Hi Drew, hi Sam. My name's Rebecca Grace and I am a makeup artist. I've previously been on one of your podcasts.
Hello lads, how's it going? Terry Burns here.
What made you start to do these podcasts and why?
What is it that inspired you to create your podcast?
Why did you start the podcast? How did it get going? What gave you the inspiration? You know, why did you get together and say, yeah, let's do this?
So there you are. I mean, pretty much the same question from all of them, really. And actually, just to add, they weren't the only three that asked that. We also had I can't describe how good it was, but an amazing video from Philip Lee. Phil, also known as the king of Photoshop, or Photoshop Phil, brilliant photographer and editor, and edits video and imagery. And I've worked with him lots of times. He sent us a video in, but his video, as you can only expect, was unbelievable, but it didn't have a lot of audio to it. So we're not putting it in the audio only version of our podcast. But if you are watching on YouTube, and we seriously advise you do, at the end we'll add it back in, and it is well worth.
It's fantastic.
But yeah, so he basically asked the same thing as well, all about why we started the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, it is something that we've mentioned before, that, and quite often, we say, I mean, and it was during the realm of the unwelcome guest, and it kind of relates to a couple of other questions later, but I mean, it was your idea. You had the idea, and of basically keeping ourselves together during a very dark time. Yeah, but keeping going after that has been. I mean, I think that more importantly, we got over that. It was a great help, but the podcast has been inspirational, and certainly meeting guests. I think I really enjoy getting the guests on, and we could very easily have gone, okay, we're over it now. It helped out, it's been fun to do. Goodbye. But keeping going it's been even more enjoyable, and meeting so many people has been brilliant.
I think in like, sort of, to keep it really blunt, it started off as something quite selfish. We were feeling lonely, and that's in very broad terms, but it was very difficult.
Yeah.
Very good friends who performed together a lot. All of a sudden that was taken away from us. So we had Zoom calls to sort of chat, catch up, chew the fat, grump, moan, etc. But found we were talking about things that people might be interested in hearing, and it turned into something where we could also be less selfish and support the industry and go, look what's missing, blah blah blah. And we're still doing that now by going, look at all these people that make things tick, that aren't the big name getting $100 million and being the name on the poster. So
yeah,
we started it partially as a selfish thing, but I think perhaps what it has become is something where we feel we are doing our bit, regardless of whether we're enduring lockdowns and the unwelcome guest or whatever now. So yeah, I think that sort of sums that one up.
I think so. I think yeah. I mean, yeah, good question though. Very good
question. Thank you. Sir.
And we're going to keep going as well, aren't we? So
yes, right. Let's jump straight in. Who is next?
Hi Drew. Hi Sam. How you doing? It's Rob Jones here. Rob Jones TV on socials. I wanted to ask, how do you guys deal with awkward guests? And by that, it's kind of double-layered question. One, when they say kind of odd stuff that, it's quite tricky to answer or deal with. Or two, just those guests that just give you like one-word answers and stuff like that. What's your sort of method around that? And also, how do you deal with guests that are on the toilet when they're talking to you?
Right. So anyone not on YouTube, you've avoided that there. To anyone who is watching video as well as listening to the audio, we apologise on behalf of Rob. Yes, again, if you couldn't see it, you've probably guessed it. By asking about how do you deal with guests on the toilet, he is sat on the throne.
On the toilet.
Thanks for that, Rob. But no, genuinely a really good question.
It is a good question. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not just saying it, but we haven't had an awkward guest or and we're very lucky that everyone's been very talented. They're all good friends of ours or of each other. And I think people have been very, very good in it. They are prepared. I mean, very often, they're thrown in the deep end with a little bit of, short notice. But everyone's been very considerate and prepared very well for us. So I don't think we've had any awkward moments at all.
No, I mean, there have been times where we've had to do bits again because people have not been happy with it, or there's been certain content that we've had to sort of go back over and go, well, do we want to keep this in or whatever? But it's never been at the sort of expense of quality, or because a guest has done something we didn't want them to, or in fact, most of the time it's guests going, can I do that bit again? Or can I say this? Or I missed this. In fact, the only one thing that sticks out, and it wasn't awkward, but it's something to mention, and we'll keep it completely anonymous. But there was, you know where I'm going.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Who said / referenced something, and we were like, oh yeah. And then afterwards we went back and they went, ooh. Can you not put that in, because I've told my partner blah, and this would suggest not blah.
Otherwise,
and I know that's really ambiguous and really vague, but it has to be to protect this person. But yeah, that's probably the only time where there's ever been anything like that. Our most difficult thing with guests is not overrunning the timeframes that we have to constrain to, because they've got so much to talk about. So there has never been, I would say, an awkward guest, just us awkwardly going, oh, we're running out of time.
Got to stop. Yeah.
Right. Good question, Rob. Thank you.
Good question. Great stuff. Oh, it's the lovely Claire Harding next.
Hi, Sam and Drew. Claire here. I just wanted to ask you, how do you think theatre has shaped your soul?
God.
Oh.
That's a question and a half, isn't it? How has theatre shaped your soul? Right, I'm going to dive in because in case you say the same thing and then I can't say it. I've loved theatre all my life. I've been going to musicals and stage shows since I was very, very small. So I think that's what got me to where I am now, and I think it made me passionate about those things. So I think by being lucky enough to have an upbringing where I was able to go to the theatre, I think it turned me into someone that hugely appreciated what those performers were doing, and equally wanted to have some of that enjoyment. So I guess, does that answer the question? Maybe not, but that's what I'm going to go.
No, yeah. I think for me, I don't know if people know, but I'm an only child, and I was very shy and slightly bullied at school, and I was kind of the class clown. So I think theatre gave me confidence. And it was I kind of found my home, because I realized, or people around me realized, I had some form of talent, which was my defense mechanism against, if I could make people laugh, they probably weren't going to hit me. So that kind of turned my defense actually turned into attack, in a way, and it became my profession. So it gave me a confidence and a bravery to deal with the world. So yeah, that's how theatre's helped me.
Amazing. That's really quite touching.
Bless you, mate.
And we'll go from what is a brilliant question and a really quite deep one to what came up more often than anything, really, when we asked people to ask us questions. And should we hear from people who shared a similar sort of idea? Right.
I think we should.
Hi gents, it's Simon here from Pantomime Magazine. Now, I hope you're both doing well.
Hello Drew, hello Sam, it's Callum Donnelly here, master of comedy. Excuse my pirate attire, I'm on a stag do.
Hello you beautiful humans, it's me, Rhys Kerridge, also known as the drag artiste Gracie Lou, and I am currently starring as Adam Felicia in Priscilla the Party at Here at Outnet in the West End.
I know when you interview people, you like to ask them for an interesting story that they don't mind sharing. So my question for yourselves would be, what is the most interesting on-stage mishap you've had? I know you've both had many years on stage, so it'd be interesting to find that out.
My question for you guys is, what is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you on stage? Please give details.
Now, my question for you both is, what is your worst on-stage mishap? I can't wait to hear. Love you!
Well, there we go. Standard. We had to expect it. Others basically trying to embarrass us or make us talk about things that went wrong. So.
Have you got sort of I think.
Well, I mean, I've got stuff, but we do also have to draw attention to the fact that number one, Callum's dressed as a pirate, and if he hadn't explained why, I wouldn't have questioned it. I would have just gone with he's just a pirate today.
Pirate,
And equally, a big congratulations to Rhys.
Oh gosh, yes.
Adam Felicia in in Priscilla the Party. Interestingly, random fact for you, something I auditioned for many, many years ago, not for Priscilla the Party, for the actual West End show, but I auditioned for that role. Obviously didn't get it, but Reese is more than deserving. He's going to be phenomenal. Can't wait to go see that. But yes, to answer their question, I not really had, touch wood, enormously embarrassing moments on stage. I mean, there's things I've mentioned before. You and our colleague Rob, when we were doing an Only Fools and Horses tribute, I got my words confused, and instead of saying challenge the head of the Women's Institute to an arm wrestling competition, I actually said challenge the head of the Women's Armstitute to an arm wrestling something. I got it completely mixed up. Most people would have let me on with it and wouldn't have drawn attention. No, Rob pulled out a chair, sat down, you walked in and said, do you want to say that again? And the whole audience obviously lost it. So that was quite embarrassing, but equally quite funny. And the only other one that springs to mind, and it wasn't really an on-stage mishap as far as the audience were concerned, or an embarrassing moment, but I've definitely mentioned it before. End of the full Monty, rip off the G-string, throw it in the air, big finale, show finishes, everyone's home, lovely, all the audience go home, and I'm going, anyone see my G-string? No. 20-minute hunt ensued afterwards, members of the cast helping, lots of members of stage crew. Where was it? Hanging off the corner of the big light up Full Monty sign. So one of the lovely stage hands had to go and get a stepladder to rescue my G-string. So there we go. That's probably what springs to mind for me.
Mine was there's been a couple of mishaps and things like that, which I think I think I might have mentioned this before, but I was playing Dame in Panto, and during the opening spot, it's quite traditional for a Dame to pick a gentleman in the audience who is going to be, my object of desire, shall we say, through the Panto. And I looked across the front row, and there wasn't anybody that looked reasonably receptive or was going to be a bit fun. But I looked a few rows back, and in the darkness, I saw a gentleman sitting there in a lovely bright red T-shirt, big smile on their face, and I just went, "So, you sir, hello." I started flirting, and the audience were giggling along and giggling quite a lot, and I thought, this is going very, very well. And I asked the gentleman's name, and the reply came back, Linda. And I'd actually chosen a lady. What I didn't know was, and I subsequently found out because I went and introduced but Linda and I went on with it. We went along with this, and I said, well, I'm prepared to give it a go if you are, Linda. I said, here I am, a man in a frock, so something's going to work out for us. And I kept going, and afterwards, at the end, the curtain call came down, the curtain came in, and I said, ladies and gentlemen, I've got to go and have a little word. And they kept the lighthouse like that, and I went down straight, and I walked up, and I met Linda, and her wife had come to see the show. So there was a wonderful, fully rounded reason why everything was working out for the wrong reasons, and she was utterly delightful. And I said, look, please give me a few minutes to get changed. I'd love to buy you a drink in the bar afterwards and have a chat. And I met her and her wife afterwards and went, but it was a beautiful moment. It wasn't embarrassing because I'd chosen a woman who was gay or whatever, but it was actually watching the audience going, right, how are you going to get out of this one then? How are you going to spend the rest of your night with this? And we myself and Linda took it on the chin and we ran with it. But of course, I walked off stage, and in the meantime, the company stage manager had run all the other venues and all the other shows in the production company's portfolio, shall we say, that year. So every other company within the production company knew that Drew had gone on that stage and chosen a woman and not a man. So I mean, I just had messages coming in, pictures of instructions of how to recognize a man from what it was hysterical. It was embarrassing from the point of fact of like, I gotta get myself out of this, but very funny. So it lent a whole thing. But yeah,
and it just goes to show there are downsides to being a Dane, because you can't wear your glasses if you've got big fake eyelashes on.
This is very true. I would have been fine. I've had the old bins on, but yeah. But yeah, lovely lady, Linda. Lovely. Yeah,
absolutely. Right, now, let's jump to. Let's see what good questions we've got coming up next. I'm going to jump to this one here. Have a listen.
Hello, lads. Tom Livermore here. And a quick question for you. Besides acting, what is the weirdest, most wonderful, most memorable job you've ever had? Have a good one.
Thank you, Tom. That's
good
a bit
question.
of a different one.
Very good.
Now, it's actually quite easy for me to answer that one because, as probably a lot of our listeners and viewers know, I used to work for the ambulance service. And honestly, the variety of things that came in and things we had to deal with there. I worked in a control room, so we dealt with the incoming 999 calls and sending out the vehicles and things like that. So yeah, I can quite comfortably say that's the most interesting, weirdest. Like some of the calls you had, I obviously can't divulge what they were, but weird, wonderful, heartbreaking, heartwarming. Yeah, just so many stories about that
different side of life.
What about you?
I think for me, it was when I was at drama school, and I was a dustman for the summer. Yeah, and I was a dustman, and I spent a couple of weeks as a road sweeper, and that was great. I just met so many interesting people, and it was in the days where you had to actually pick a dustbin up and empty it. You know, there was no black bags, so that I kept very fit. But yeah, I met when I was road sweeping, met loads of people. People chatted to me. It was a really good people watching job. So yes, yeah, that was I enjoyed it as well. Yeah,
nice. Oh, there we go. Good answer. Awesome. I hope that pleases you, Tom. Now, we did say we'd come back to Terry Gauchi's second question. So let's just remind ourselves what that was.
If you could play any Hollywood part, what would it be? And why, obviously? Explain your reasons.
And he wasn't the only one to ask that, because Richard Spry dived back in again with...
What any film or drama series would you both most like to be in or be part of?
So, Drew, go on then, hit us.
I've got two. One of the same ilk. I love my fantasy and sci-fi. So Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. And if I was to pick a role, I want to be Gandalf. I want to be Gandalf the Grey. There we are. Mr. Ian McKellen can have a day out. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
Wow. It's as simple as that.
Simple as that, mate.
Yeah. What was the second one?
Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings.
I see. Lord of the Rings. All right, right. So the two shows, but what the main one role would be?
One role would be Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Okay. So mine, I think we've probably talked about this on the podcast before, but again, two that jump to mind. Bond, obviously. I mean, what British man in his right mind doesn't want to play Bond, or not British, I suppose. But yeah, I'd love to play James Bond, obviously in the James Bond franchise. But if not that, a superhero. But I'm talking like edgy Marvel superhero, not necessarily clean cut, but like real kind of any of that. Like I guess it's all these years playing villain in Panto. I want to be the bloody hero now. Or Bond, who is also a hero. So yeah, that would sum it up for me. Now, we also had another question from the lovely Will Gillam, good friend of ours, amazing headshot photographer and actor. And he asked something similar, but not quite the same. So,
hold it, darlings. Gorgeous. My question for Drewling Samantics is, if a film were to be made about the life of Sam and Drew, but you weren't able to play the roles, who would you want playing you? Bear in mind that the actors you choose could be living or dead. But they're not dead during the filming. That would be weird.
Brilliant.
Brilliant question.
Great question again. I'll let you go ahead, Drew.
Well, I think you know this one as well, don't you? You know who was gonna. I can see the look on your face. Who would play Drew in a film? It's got to be
Danny DeVito. Oh, yes. Well, no. Height jokes aside, is there anyone in particular that springs to mind, or would you just want someone to do a good job? I suppose.
I mean, my great hero was Chaplin. So I mean, it would be very difficult to do it. I mean, I could see my life as a silent movie. Yeah, yeah. I mean, but interesting silent movie. Charlie Chaplin playing me. There you go.
I'm going to go left field.
Oh,
And simply because, and people that are watching on YouTube will go, "What the hell are people talking about?" But I've been compared to him a few times. I'm going to say Matt Damon. I've been told I look a bit like Matt Damon, so it would be easy. You wouldn't have to have too many prosthetics and stuff. And equally, I think he's fabulous. I think he's an unbelievably versatile and amazing actor. So yeah, I'll go Matt Damon. But now we are seriously running out of time here for our normal episode.
Oh yeah.
But we have a lot more questions to answer. I've come up with an idea. And hopefully people are enjoying this episode as much as we are. And hopefully they'd like to enjoy this idea a little bit more. So rather than trying to rush and include too many more, why don't we extend and do this again? So we've obviously got a guest episode next week. But why don't we come back the week after that? Yeah. And then do more questions, because we've got plenty more to go into. So I think we should do that. What do you reckon?
I think it's great. Yeah, next week we ask the questions. Following week, we'll answer them again.
Perfect.
Works for me.
But I reckon we've got time for one more. So let's go. Oh, here's a good one to finish this one before we attempt it again in a couple of weeks. Here we go.
Hey guys, how you doing? Michael Hode here, actor and action director. I just wanted to ask you guys what would be your one piece of advice that you would give to young performers coming up in the film and TV industry.
Brilliant. Great question.
Good question.
I'll jump in again. My simple answer would be, don't give up. It's always a hard industry to be part of. It's always really tough. There are days that are great. There are lots of days that are much, much worse and much harder to get through. But if you are passionate about something and want to follow it through, then the biggest piece of advice I can give to someone is just keep going. Because there is something over that horizon. There is something coming. It may not be close. It may be far away, but it will eventually be there. So just keep going for it.
Mine's in a similar vein is realize that it's your career. Don't compare yourself with anyone else. Don't read Facebook or whatever and go, oh, they're doing that and I'm not doing that. It's your race. It's your career. If it is a race, then it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Take your time, run your own race, and be your own person. And don't give up because you think everyone's doing better than you. Everyone's career is different, and it takes some people longer. Some people have that luck we were talking about earlier, early in their careers. But yeah, be yourself and realize that, it's your career. Don't compare yourself with other people and don't worry. That would be my advice.
Beautifully wise words there from the wise old owl of Drewling Samantics. But no, seriously, I completely agree. It's all about yourself and all about keeping going.
Absolutely.
It's a really lovely way to finish this one, I think.
That was nice, yeah.
Really nice. So, as said, we'll be back next week with an amazing guest. Can't wait for next week's guest. That's going to be brilliant. But we'll also then get back to answering these questions in a fortnight's time, because this has been hugely enjoyable. We hope you feel the same, anyone tuning in. And we've got lots more. So to all our lovely guests who ask questions but haven't been on this one, you are coming. Don't worry, we'll get there. And just one final thought as I raise my glass to say farewell to all our listeners and watchers, our lovely guests who have contributed questions, and of course to you, Drew. Remember, we talked about Mr. Philip Lee, the amazing photographer, and his editing. If you're on YouTube, we'll pop his video in now. If you're not on YouTube, get on it. It's worth checking out.
It's
Other
brilliant.
than that, have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Cheers all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.